One of the very first things you can do to support your business is to diligently separate your personal transactions from your business transactions. First and foremost, it gives you clean financial data. It's going to give you an idea of your business financial health, not your personal financial health. Secondly, is to protect you from liability. Lastly, is to prepare you for company growth. It's not uncommon to want to change your business structure as your company grows and expands. Having good personal business separation helps facilitate those changes. Before we get going, I'm going to explain a little bit more about business structure to add some context to the rest of this information. If you're new to business, chances are you've set yourself up as a sole prop, single member LLC, partnership, or a multi-member LLC. Sole props are actually structureless. It's kind of like you started selling some necklaces to your friends and family and bam, now you're a sole prop, you're in business. The nice thing about that is that you have complete ownership of your own business decisions. The tricky thing about that, though, is that there's no legal distinction between business and personal, which means if there's ever a legal dispute, then your personal assets and your business assets are entirely the same thing and all up for grabs. While there's no legal reason to have your personal and business transactions separated, it is best practice to do it, and it will also help you scale if you ever choose to change your business structure. An LLC has limited liability. What this means is that your business could lose the value of the capital that you invested. This is where personal and business transactions become really important, because you might have to demonstrate the business capital and personal capital. If you haven't made a good distinction between personal and business, how can you demonstrate what was exclusively invested into your business and what is really personal still? The long story short is that in the worst case circumstance, you might lose more than the capital you invested because you were unable to demonstrate what was exclusively for business use. Just a quick note about C-corps. If you have started your business as a C corporation, then having any personal business crossover is a big no-no and actually can have tax and legal ramifications. So let's go over a few examples of what some personal transactions are and what some business transactions are. Because to be honest, for a lot of businesses, that can be quite tricky. And it also depends quite a lot on what kind of business you run and what kind of expenses you need to make. And I'm not going to give you advice here that is tax advice or financial advice, but I am going to give you a couple of guiding principles to help you understand when you're spending something personally and when you're spending something for the business. My first example is your expense ordinary and necessary? An example of necessary, perhaps, is a flight to another city for a meeting. Ordinary, though, is flying in economy, not in first class. The next example is the straight face test. And this is my favorite example because it really helps put the power in your hands deciding what a business transaction is and which one's a personal transaction. The theory is that if you can sit down in a room with an IRS agent and they can say to you, "Is this expense for business?" and you can answer yes with a straight face, then it's probably for business. An example of this, perhaps, is taking your brother out for dinner because you've decided to go into business together. You could absolutely reasonably say that you were at that dinner with your brother to discuss business needs, and it wasn't a family dinner. The last thing you should really familiarize yourself are the kind of personal expenses that can also be business expenses. Again, most of you are probably sole props or single member LLCs. You probably work from home off the side of your desk. Did you know that you can make home office deductions? You can make personal vehicle deductions. You can also actually account for your family working for you. It's also good to understand which kind of expenses are just not deductible at all. Things like some clothing, things like the interest expense off personal credit cards, even if you've used them for business, and also things like client entertainment, which are not the same as business meals. So practically speaking, how do you do this? If you're a sole prop, there's actually no legal distinction between you and your business, which means that if you wanted to, you could actually just open up a second checking account and try and keep all of your expenses and all of your sales revenue coming in and out of that one account, which means that you can keep it separate from your personal stuff. If you're any other kind of business structure, then opening a business checking account is the way to go. Oftentimes, this is different from a personal account because it's opened in the business name, and banking institutions will also offer different options depending on your business's needs. Those needs might include checking accounts, merchant accounts, and options for lending, so loans, lines of credits, credit cards. When you're looking for a business bank account, you actually have a couple of choices that you can make. The first thing you should do, though, is figure out what you need your bank account to do for you, and then you should start shopping around for the best deals. Most accounts have different options depending on business needs. It might be high transaction volume, it might be high wire transfer volume, it might be minimum value in your account, and it might also be minimum daily deposits. Think about how you're going to be running your business and what applies most to you. When you go into the bank to open a business account, you can expect that they'll ask you for a couple of things. At a minimum, they're going to ask you for your social security number, 2 pieces of ID, your EIN, and any partnership or business agreements that you've already established. They might also want to see any licenses that you have. To be honest, it's probably a good idea to give the bank a call before going in. This is one of those topics that is going to change for each business because each business is unique. If you want to do more reading about what you can expect opening a business banking account, you can take a look at Venture's online syllabus and blog. There's a couple of great articles there that were published this year and provide much more information.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our latest videos.